My name is Steve Buell. The Governor's charge for the educational funding team, which meant in secret, by the way, was for them to make recommendations for priority investments in Oregon's education. My 40-plus years as a teacher taught me there are three main ways to invest in education, which have the greatest impact. First, you can invest in children. This includes things which have a direct impact on children in a school. Examples would include such things as librarians, art, music, reading teachers, after-school athletics and activities, wraparound programs, and other things which create direct help or opportunities for children. Second, you can invest in teachers. This includes resources and support for teachers. This might include more teachers to lower class size, technology to help them teach, improved teacher training at universities, monetary support for would-be teachers, teacher aides in classrooms and curriculum resources, among other things. Generally, the best investments come when they're initiated by teachers, asking for what they believe they need. Third, you can invest in schools. You could add school nurses, improve libraries, and add certified librarians. You could add counselors, upgrade and improve technology which students or teachers use, maintain the physical buildings, improve transportation, and remodel or rebuild the school itself. So which of these did the members of the educational funding team prioritize and recommend to the governor of the Oregon Educational Investment Board? None. That's right, none. Not one thing was recommended which fits the above list. Not one thing which invests in students, teachers, or schools. Not a thing. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I guess it's time for all the teachers to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts and concerns regarding the potential direction of education in Oregon. My name is Pat Albright. I'm a native Oregonian. Tonight I come to you as an individual, as more than 40 years with the Oregon education system, 4 years as a journalist, and a whole bunch as a secondary teacher and other stuff. Let me underscore the premise behind my thoughts. Our local educators must be the heart and soul of any move to reform education and increase achievement. But first, a bit of history. In 1848, the new territorial governor, Joseph Lane, came to Oregon in search of a plan for public education. He implemented a 6-point plan offered by local congregational minister and teacher, the Reverend George Atkinson. Among Atkinson's and then Lane's points was that education should be localized, not centralized. He also established that education should be free and tax-supported, free of religious influence. A permanent school fund should be established, professional standards should be established, and teachers should be qualified and licensed. For the most part, those goals were achieved throughout the next century, and Oregon boasted one of the best education systems in the nation. Things are changing. Most dramatically, we have seen those changes over the past 20 years. And in the past 4 years, our schools and staffs have been particularly overburdened with overcrowded classrooms, reduced instructional days, and reduced instructional resources. I admire their commitment, but honestly, I doubt their ability to make more than minimal advancement. It's a matter of physics. It's a matter of numbers and time. As you move to implement these far-reaching aspirations, let me ask you to recognize the value of teachers and staffs to establish realistic goals that will conform to the local community. To be effective, our qualified teachers need to be involved in setting the goals that will also meet your goals and desires to improve public education in Oregon. Give them the time, give them the resources, give them the authority and the opportunity, and give them the respect they are due, and they will do the very best to help move Oregon students forward. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Justin Potts. I'm a nationally certified school psychologist and a former president of the Oregon School Psychologists Association. I'm actually also a fourth-generation educator. My great-grandfather was part of the Ellison White Chautauqua movement that came to Oregon in the 1920s. My grandmother taught at Salem. My mother and stepfather taught public schools. Mother taught in Jefferson, Benson, Cleveland, high schools. I don't remember a time, at least in my lifetime, when education funding was not a challenge. Since the mid-90s, when I started my career as a learning specialist in Marion County Juvenile, even when times were good, we were cutting programs, we were cutting supports. It has not been feast or famine, it's been famine or famine. But it's my job to advocate for special education, and particularly for those who are exceptionally and disproportionately affected by funding strains, such as waivers for maintenance of effort, things like that. In the QEC report, the Quality Education Commission report, the prototype schools for quality outcomes have class sizes below 24. When I go to my elementary school, where they are and have been doing the good collaborative work, data-driven interventions, quality instruction that we expect and we desire, and have class sizes over 30, including grade level blends that are increasingly difficult to do, I feel like we are punishing those that are doing it right and doing the things that we want them to do. My worry is that we lose them before we get here, that we lose those folks before we get to the point where, because these initiatives tend to precede the resources that they suppose are going to be part of it. I know education funding is complicated, and it's a politically contentious issue, not just in Oregon, but nationally. We need to have quality instruction and believe in that, and high expectations, informed by research. But we do need to find stable funding and support small class sizes. My mother was once told in the 70s when she was teaching at Jefferson, when she walked in to the lounge, and the head of the education department at Jefferson said, "You don't think any of these kids are going to go to college, do you?" She fought against that her whole career. I continue to fight against it, but I don't want to fight it. I want us to just do it. Thank you.
Doug Smythe, Yvonne Stubbs, and George Russell.
Hello, my name is Doug Smythe, and I come to you as a faculty member and counselor from Lane Community College. Thank you all for taking the time that you've devoted to this mission. I have concerns about your proposal. I'm not an historian, but it seems to me in 2001, I remember the notion of No Child Left Behind. I think you remember that too. That, to my knowledge, has not been the best endeavor. We have a lot of school districts, schools, states, seeking exemption from No Child Left Behind. My simple concern is that we not repeat that. And I hope that whatever your proposal is, that we do not go down that road. I don't know if that means a revision or rescinding your proposal, but we should not make that mistake. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Stubbs. I've been a part of this community for a while, but the reason why I got involved with NAACP, they had a section called the Education Committee, and I am the co-chair of that committee. And the reason why I got involved, because my children, when they were coming up, my oldest one is 45, the youngest one is 23. And they have been a part of this community. I have seen African American students not graduate with a diploma, or either they could not go to college. And I'm a little nervous, so I'm trying to express myself, but my concern is that the achievement gap is widening. And every single year, I hear from the superintendents, we hear from the teachers, we hear, oh, it's a great program, it's fantastic, this will do it. And every year the achievement gap is still here. And Eugene is not that large with African American students here. And I can name 5 students last year that graduated, did not go to college because they were not college equipped. They were not ready for college. I can name this year, working with Back to School, Stay in School program that we have downtown, that we have retired teachers that help tutor children of color downtown LCC. And I can name 4 students that African American and students of color that are getting straight Fs. I can name some that are doing very poorly in school, behavior-wise or whatever, but I know that sometimes when kids act out, they act out, because they can't read. So they're not gonna come to some teacher and say, I can't read, help me. So that's why we developed this program, or we didn't develop it, it was already under NAACP's organization, but we made this possible so that we can help the children when the school districts can't. And I know for a fact that the school districts cannot help some of these kids.
2 minutes,
Good evening, my name is George Russell. I'm a retired educator and I co-chair the NAACP Education Committee with Yvonne. I want to say a few quick things. One, as you all know, the NAACP is the oldest civil rights organization in this country. And 3 years ago, the National Association said that education was the new civil right. And in terms of this proposal, I want to say that I think it's on the right track. I think that there needs to continue to be a focus, and you need to look at where you're focusing on the instructional core here. And I agree with folks that the learner, the teacher, and what's taught in our classrooms is what's the most important. But I also want to say one of the pieces from the NAACP Education Committee standpoint that we find significant is strategic investment number 3, supporting students and families. The importance of having parents, families, and communities engaged in the education of their children and bringing that social and cultural perspective on what works with their kids in terms of both the educational setting and the other wraparound kinds of services that make this a larger than what happens in the schoolroom issue for kids is significant and important. And we appreciate the recognition that we're not going to make progress in closing the achievement gaps unless we engage parents, families, and communities in that endeavor with educators as partners.
Anna Yeli, Jimenez, Diana Ashley, Donna Dubois.
Good evening. My name is Ana Jimenez. I am a first-generation student at Lane Community College. In 2001, students at Lane Community College were paying $38 of credit. Now, we are paying a little over $90 of credit. Tuition has more than doubled in the last 10 years, specifically at Lane Community College. It is disappointing to know that the Oregon Education Investment Board has not recommended to reinstate our /general operating budgets. This budget suggests funding special degree programs instead of reinstating our much-needed full-time faculty positions, academic advisors, or financial aid advisors. There is nothing in this budget that will keep tuition prices manageable. And instead, it appears that we will continue to see cuts to essential services and possible increases in tuition to pay for information systems and specialized degree programs. I am currently taking 18 credits and have 2 jobs. Like many of you, my number one priority is to keep my jobs. Without them, I cannot afford to attend college. I have been attending Lane since 2008. One of the reasons why I have not been able to attend school full-time is because of the lack of courses being offered due to budget cuts. This term is the first term that I have been attending Lane and going full-time. I will be concluding my education at Lane in spring of 2015 and starting my junior year at a 4-year institution in fall term shortly after. Knowing how expensive education is right now, I cannot imagine how expensive it will be once I transfer. I, amongst many students, are concerned that directing 30% of the funding to degree completion will compromise quality by incentivizing increased class sizes, limiting access to academic and financial aid advisors, and trading tenured faculty or more part-time faculty who are already stretched. According to the task force on student success who have completed their work and have clearly identified a clear focus for the success of students, is that tuition needs to be more affordable. A shocking 80% of students who qualify for the Oregon Opportunity Grant do not receive the award because of the lack of funding. So why are we not working to keep tuition increases minimal while we wait for more need-based aid funding?
Good evening. Thank you for encouraging our input. My name is Diana Ashley. I've been an educator in Eugene for over 30 years, and I have 2 children who are products and graduates of Eugene Public School System. I've read the summary recommendations from the education funding team, and I really respect that you're trying to do a whole lot with very little. To create a seamless outcomes-based P20 system that focuses on equity and where college and career readiness, high academic achievement, early childhood development, and individualized learning are guaranteed is eminently worthy, but very difficult to achieve with the resources. For a few minutes, I'd like to briefly read you something, and while I'm doing that, I would ask that you think specifically about the mission that you've identified, as well as the strategic investments that you've recommended. What I'm going to read is a job description. Again, please think about how these services might be uniquely and specifically geared to support your goals. The person in this job is a leader and an integral part of each school's mission. She provides a systematic developmental approach to serving students with specific guaranteed services to all students at each grade level. He knows each student and each family. She works with all students at all grade levels. He is an advocate for each and every student, to staff, family, and community. She actively works towards social justice for all students. He provides direction and leadership in curriculum best practices. She identifies, connects, and mobilizes needed resources for students and families, both inside school and out. He assists students to discover their individual skills, interests, talents, and dreams, and provides career guidance and college readiness activities. She's committed to ongoing professional development. He's a leader in system reform. She's an expert in child development and demonstrates excellent communication. He provides pivotal assistance to students in transitions, especially elementary to middle, middle to high, and high school to career. She's in the classroom, working directly with students, and also available one-on-one. He is culturally aware and leads in developing culturally appropriate strategies. She's a key motivator and monitors all kids toward graduation. He's committed to learning-centered instruction. She is licensed, experienced, professional, and a leader. He is, and she is, a professional school counselor. I would ask that you consider our voice and our Oregon Comprehensive Guidance and Counseling Framework in your decisions. Thank you.
evening. I too would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to hear our voice. My name is Donna Dubois, and I'm the 2010 Oregon Teacher of the Year. I'm also a proud mom of 3 kids who have gone through the Oregon school system, and I teach right here in Eugene at Camas Ridge Community School. I had the wonderful opportunity this summer to be part of the Distinguished Educators Council, which is a council that Chalkboard brought together. It was a diverse group of 13 educators from all over the state, and we put together a report, which I gave to you, and it highlights 5 recommendations that these distinguished educators came together, researched, and thought would really move forward education in Oregon. Recommendation 1 has to do with teacher preparation. And in short, we are calling for more time for teachers to be in the classroom with strong mentors. We had outlined that we would like to require full-year residencies with a minimum of 30 weeks clinical experience for all pre-service teachers. Recommendation 2 is in the area of teacher evaluation. With the passage of Senate Bill 290, we have a real opportunity for change. Our council, among all of us around the whole state, realized that you could have 1 visit from an administrator every 2 years, and we just felt like this is not enough. We call for evaluations to be designed collaboratively by teachers and administrators. Teachers have multiple measures of performance, and that the evaluation would help inform a professional development plan for that teacher. Recommendation 3 is in the area of professional development. Like we teach our kids individually, it would be great rather than top-down professional development for teachers where an administrator says, here you go, that if teachers could just have the opportunity to identify what they want to learn, how they want to learn, and have individualized professional development. Also mentors for first and second year teachers. Recommendation 4 deals with establishing leadership opportunities and career pathways for existing teachers. Right now, my career pathway would be to become an administrator and leave the classroom, which is a sad situation for a lot of master teachers who want to stay in the classroom and lead. We're asking that the state move forward in developing leadership roles that would include compensation for teachers who want to design curriculum, mentor others, coach, and plan professional learning for their peers. And finally, we want to ensure that Oregon's teachers can address the needs of the diverse students. The achievement gap has already been mentioned tonight, and we were dreaming and we were thinking how neat it would be if Oregon had a promising practices archive where schools that are closing the achievement gap nationwide, worldwide, we have a resource and then we can model those programs right here in our state. Thank you.
Jennifer Schmidt, James Salt, Beatrice Gutierrez.
I'm Jennifer. I am a licensed exempt child care provider. I do consider myself an educator. All my kids are on a reading, writing, math, science program. They do arts and crafts, field trips. They even get a garden so they could get hands-on work. The ERBC program should be funded. It's up to us to keep them educated so they are ready for kindergarten. As a child care provider who cares for low-income, at-risk children, one, depend on Oregon's education leaders like you all to advocate for an investment in the ERBC and child care providers. We are an important part of early education, but our program has been cut, which puts kids at risk. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Salt, sociologist. Earned my PhD here at the University of Oregon. I've been teaching and studying educational reform movements and the relationship between education and social inequality for almost 3 decades. I'm also president of the Faculty Association at Lane Community College, where we represent over 700 faculty members, and I'm president of the OEIB Community College Council, representing over 4,000 faculty and staff at community colleges around the state. Also, finally, I'm from Massachusetts, which has one of the best educational systems in the country, probably the closest to the 40-40-20 goal. Maybe it's Mass's anti-colonialist history, but we're taught there to speak truth to power, and I intend to do so. The governor's team's recommendations for community colleges fail in every manner to address the funding needs of community colleges, shockingly offering no investment, only a failed gimmick and funding scheme. Since the beginning of the Great Recession, community colleges have been asked to do far more with far less, and we responded with major sacrifices of faculty and staff wages, benefits and working conditions, filling faculty positions with part-time faculty, and overfilling our classes to somehow accommodate the greatest growth of Oregon community college student body in history, despite far less state support. And you've heard, as you've heard tonight, our students have seen even greater tuition rates and soaring educational debt. Despite all this, the governor's team recommends recommendations single out community colleges for a funding scheme that fails to address the underfunding, the recent cuts, the enrollment surge, let alone the additional costs associated with the 40-40-20 goal. Instead, we're told that 30% of our woefully inadequate fund would be tied to a new performance gimmick to try to get us to do even more with even less or else, and implying we aren't already doing everything we can to help our students succeed. This, despite performance funding's history across the country of failing to advance educational outcomes, while actually undermining the integrity of educational institutions, programs, courses, and practices, promoting grade and program and degree inflation and other gains of the system. So instead of thanking us for all that we've done to meet the needs of Oregonians in a very difficult time, by offering a proposal to begin to meet the dire funding needs of our community colleges, we're told to do more with less or else. We don't need funding gimmicks and schemes or more business practices that have already destroyed our nation's economy and trashed state funding. We need support, investment. This proposal is simply an outrage, offering nothing but an attack on one of the best institutions in the state. If the OEIB actually cares about community colleges and our mission, you will reject it outright. Thank you.
I'm a sophomore at the University of Oregon and a first-generation college student. I'm here to address the concerns that I have based on the recommendation of the OEIB Education Funding Team. Specifically, in the 13-15 biennium, 30% of formula funding for community colleges and universities be allocated on the basis of institutions' success at achieving outcomes. This is very concerning to me as a student and as an Oregonian. The decrease in funding would increase the class sizes, which would lead to the longer stay for students in a university, which also increases the amount of loans that we have to take out to stay in school for that amount of time. I personally will be graduating with around $25,000 in debt. That's for an estimated 4 years in college. So an increased class size would increase my debt for around $10,000. And I'm already having a difficult time staying on track, considering that the increased class size of our schools now are it's huge. So I'm asking that you reinstate the general operating budgets of this next session. And I was at the task force meeting in August for the student success during its roadshow in August. And it was really clear that funding needs to be increased if only 2 out of 10 students receive the Oregon Opportunity Grant. I am one of those 2 students that received the Oregon Opportunity Grant. And I'm really worried about making sure that my grant goes through for the next 2 years that I should have it. It's really important that I have it because without it, college would be almost impossible to go through, considering the loans that I would have to take out and the job market that would be waiting for me after I graduate. Thank you.
Melinda Bean, Andrew LaBoche. I'm not sure if I'll get this right. Starts with an L, Lamar. Wise.
I'm Melinda Bean. I'm an instructor at Lake Community College in psychology primarily. And I also, I'm also work at Oregon Research Institute, not as a primary investigator, but as part of a research team. So I'm out in the community working as well as teaching. And I think that gives me a little bit different perspective, maybe from some other people because of that. I also, before I earned my PhD here at the University of Oregon, worked in the private sector in engineering for a number of years on a design team, and decided that I wanted to come and share my abilities as a teacher, but went and got better background in cognitive neuroscience, because that's my area that I'm interested in. And one of my concerns is that in tying the funding to graduation, it sort of looks at students as endpoints. We want to move them along this pathway that's linear, and we're not looking at the diversity of the students that are out there. The students don't go and get a degree and then go into the community. They're in the community when they come to us. And often at the community college level, the type of diversity that we're dealing with is not only cultural, but it also is a wide range of experiences and situations. And often those situations involve working, being a student, being a parent, so a wide range of responsibilities. And tying funding to outcomes and looking at the sole main goal as getting them to get a degree is ignoring the students who are sometimes dual enrolled between U of O and LCC, who would love to go maybe to the college or to the university and do all their classes there, but see Lane as a unique opportunity to be able to have their foundation for their upper division classes as a place that they can do it in a smaller, more intimate environment where they can really integrate with the teachers. And unfortunately for some of those students, having a lot of pressure to get a degree or to move forward to the university in a particular time frame, or to move along a particular pathway, and having that additional pressure doesn't allow them the freedom to be able to explore their abilities and to work on their creativity and their innovation and all of these things that contribute to being a productive member out in the community. And I think we need to look at supporting those students in those many roles and look at what their goals are, not in terms of getting a degree and being able to point to that to get funding, but instead looking at what are their goals. Are they developing their abilities to be able to work within a particular job? Are they developing abilities to be a better parent? Are they going to school to transfer? That's fine. But there's a wide range of goals, and I think that this doesn't address them. And it puts a lot of pressure toward endpoints, and they're already under pressure. There's a lot of things that go on that they're dealing with. And I just think that we need to look at a broader way to support their needs as they're moving through school, and to focus more on how we can develop their individual interests and their abilities and their talents, and support them within the community that they're already in. Because they're not just going to graduate and then move into the community. They're already an active part of the working community. I'm done.
Hi, my name is Andrew Lubash. I'm a sophomore at the University of Oregon, a self-identified LGBT student and a co-chair of the Oregon Students Equal Rights Alliance. Everyone knows that funding decisions are all about priorities. Your job is a difficult one, and I recognize that, but there are significant differences in the funding priorities in which you've recommended and what I think are necessary for a quality Oregon education, especially for communities like mine. I believe in restoring our /university budgets and full-time faculty positions first to provide for a well-rounded quality education for all university students. In your proposed recommendation, you recommend 30% of funding for community colleges and universities should be based solely on an institution's ability to achieve high levels of degree completion. With the limited resources available now, you're pushing universities to churn out degrees in a machine-like way rather than providing a quality, holistic educational experience. Our first goal as a state should be to make education accessible to communities like mine, not create a culture that prioritizes only those that can afford to attend. One of the best ways we do this is to reinstate our operating budgets and keep tuition manageable, not that it is right now at all. Did you know tuition has gone up nearly 70% at the U of O in 6 years? Second, let me remind you that you make decisions that affect all Oregonians. I believe that services aiding students with financial aid and providing real faculty to teach our students instead of graduate teaching fellows is necessary for all students to be successful. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that only 2 out of every 10 students that qualify for the Oregon Opportunity Grant actually receive it. Oregon's only need-based aid program is barely limping along, and no one seems to actually care. I think it's embarrassing that there is nothing in this recommendation that even attempts to keep tuition prices manageable, forcing universities to either cut important services or significantly raise tuition. I have a single mom at home that has to support herself and put kids through college. Your budget recommendation signals to me a genuine disinvestment from public higher education. How can we ever reach the governor's 40-40-20 goal when students like me can't even afford to go to college? How can other LGBT students who have been abused or disowned by their parents afford to attend college on their own? They don't. Students can't work their way through college anymore. This is a two-way street. Students are doing their part, and it's about time that the state of Oregon decided to do the same. Please reinstate our general operating budgets. Oregon needs you to prioritize affordable education for everyone. That's my preferred future. And the funding model you recommend, frankly, does not prioritize my community enough.
Hi, my name is